I'm Mac Hammond. I pastor Living Word Christian Center in Minneapolis, and they're just down here getting out of the cold. That's all they're doing. But I want to thank you for being a part of this wonderful celebration tonight. I'm a member of the executive board of CUFI and a regional director, and it's my special privilege tonight to introduce a very special speaker. Isaiah 62:1 reads, "For Zion's sake I will not keep silent. For Jerusalem's sake I'll not remain quiet till her vindication shines out like the dawn, her salvation like a blazing torch." Our next speaker is known for speaking up. Dennis Prager is one of America's best-known nationally syndicated radio talk show hosts and has appeared on numerous national television programs. Since 1992, Prager has been teaching the Bible, verse by verse, at the University of Judaism. He has written several books, including The 9 Questions People Ask About Judaism, which is the most widely used introduction to Judaism in the world. His book, Still the Best Hope, Why American Values Must Triumph, was published in 2013. His most recent book is The 10 Commandments, still the best and really the only relevant moral code. His latest venture, Prager University, is a virtual university on the internet with 5-minute courses on political science, economics, history, religion, and life. In 2014, Prager University garnered 27 million views. Prager was previously a fellow at Columbia University's School of International Affairs and was appointed by President Ronald Reagan to the U.S. delegation to the Vienna Review Conference on the Helsinki Accords. Please join me in welcoming Dennis Prager to our platform.
Thank you, wow. Thank you. It's always intimidating when you get a standing ovation before you speak. You can only disappoint after that. Pastor Hammond, God bless you for your work. It's an honor to be introduced by you. I'm terribly honored to be here, and people say that all the time when they speak. I think everybody here knows that I mean that with every fiber in my body. CUFI has played a tremendous role in America and, frankly, a tremendous role in my life. First time I spoke at an honor Israel night, a night to honor Israel, I actually did something that some of you will find odd that I never do. But we all have our own little theologies. I'm a big believer in God, but I just tend not to ask him for anything for me. I'm not saying that's the right method, I'm just telling you. But I've only made 2 petitionary prayers on my own behalf in my life. One was when I was about 8 and I broke the most expensive vase in my mother's house, in my parents' house. I locked myself in the bathroom and prayed to God for a lack of punishment, which, by the way, happened. It was you would think batting 1,000 I would continue to make petitionary prayer, but I didn't. The second, believe it or not, was my first night to honor Israel. I cried so much, and I don't easily cry. I cried so much, watching Christians who say and really do love Jews in Israel. It's not something a Jew is used to. You have to understand that. We're not the most popular people in history. We're the most known, but not the most popular. And so I made a prayer, God, please allow me to speak without crying. That was my second petitionary prayer. That is how much you folks move any Jew who gets to experience what you do here. I'll have more to say about that. There's so much I want to say to you, so let me get right into it. There is so much evil in the world at this moment, and there is only reason to believe it will increase, that I have to say, especially to the many hundreds of young people who are here, I want to say something very sobering to you that most adults probably don't tell you. Evil is normal. Good is abnormal. There are even some adults here who may not agree with me. But how can you not agree with me when you look at the world and you look at history? I mean, think about how much bad there is, how much corruption, how much evil, how much torture, how much rape. They say that there is a crisis of a culture of rape on American campuses. Well, it's a stupid, stupid lie. But there is culture of rape all over the world. Rape is normative in many cultures on this planet. We don't know how good we have it in America. We don't. That is the big problem. Americans don't know how good we have it in this country. That's why I don't want to fundamentally transform this country. I want to improve it. I don't want to transform it. Woe unto anybody who is married to a spouse who wishes to transform them. Is that fair to say? I love my husband, but I would like to transform him. Better to love him less and transform him less. Evil is so engulfing. And no, not everybody is bad, obviously. But you know what else? We live in a naive time that denies the biblical truth that we are flawed creatures, we humans. You get the nonsense at college, poverty causes crime. I remember when I first heard that, poverty causes crime. I thought of my grandparents in Brooklyn, New York, who were utterly below the poverty line, utterly unemployed during the Depression. And I remember thinking, I was in high school when I first heard this, I thought, my grandparents are going to rape? My grandfather's going to rape? My grandparents are going to loot? The thought was absurd. It was absurd. And I knew why they wouldn't. Not because they weren't poor, but because they were God-fearing people. Period. That's all you need. We live in an age of stupidity where the idea that if you increase people's income, they get better, as opposed to increase people's sense of responsibility to a God who judges human beings and demands goodness. That's why my grandfather wouldn't have robbed a bank. Not because he wasn't poor, but because he believed in a God who said, "Thou shalt not steal." That's all you need. But you never talk about that. Our jails are not filled with regular churchgoers, okay? But no sociologist ever bothers asking that. Here, I feel that I am in the midst of goodness. I said CUFI has such an impact on me. It's like bathing in an island of goodness when I come to CUFI events at churches around the country. I have spoken here on a number of occasions, and the only story that I repeat, because I feel I owe you new ideas each time, but there is one that I tell every time and at every church. And it's hard for me to say because it's so emotionally laden, but I will say it. There is something that Jews, certainly I would say of my generation and even the next, perhaps not millennial Jews, but there is something that every Jew of my generation, I'm post-Holocaust, but baby boomer generation, thinks when they are with a non-Jew. They'll never tell you this, they won't always admit it, but it's true. If there were another Holocaust, would this person hide me? Whenever I am with you, I feel I am with thousands of people who would hide me. I believe that from the bottom of my heart, or I wouldn't say it. and I wish every Jew in the world could see your reaction when I say it, the passion with which you respond to that comment. You might find this interesting. I have always thought that it's important to study goodness. I think I understand evil. It's goodness that I find more of a riddle. So I've always studied people who rescue Jews. There are about 25,000 books on the Holocaust, and there are about 10 books on those who rescue Jews. People study evil at a ratio of about 20,000 to 1, how much they study goodness. Two people who did were Pearl and Sam Oliner, professors at Humboldt State University, agnostic, not religious, secular Jews, one of whom, I believe it was he, saved in Poland during the Holocaust. They wrote a book on altruism, on doing good. I interviewed them many, many years ago. And I said the following. I said, I'd like to know, now that you know whatever you do know, if you were back in Poland during the Holocaust, you're a Jew, and you could knock on one door in the hope that somebody would hide you, would you knock on the door of a judge, a lawyer, a doctor, a professor, or a priest? They are both secular Jews, and both said a priest. That is not insignificant. Pastor Hagee correctly noted the failure of the church during World War II, and it's paid a terrible price. In Western Europe, nobody goes to church. That is the price paid by the church. That will be the price paid by the churches that are against Israel today. They will be empty. Look at the evils of today. Look at how horrific. Islamist evil. And yes, I will utter the usual important phrase, there are tens of millions, hundreds of millions of wonderful Muslims. Nobody denies that. But equally, no one should deny that there is evil coming from within the Muslim world that is right now unique to the Muslim world. The Karen Armstrong lie that all fundamentalists are equally dangerous is a lie. Nobody fears fundamentalist Christians blowing them up. Nobody fears Hasidim attacking them when they're on an airplane. Nobody fears Mormons hijacking their plane or ship. All right, let's be honest. We're not honest. We live in a world drenched in falsehood. This Islamic evil is unique, though. The Nazis and the communists, I mean, there's nothing they didn't do, no torture that they couldn't think up. But there is something new with Islamist evil. It's new. The Nazis did everything possible to hide their butchery. These people do everything possible to publicize it. This is new. This is new. You would never think in the world of evil there could be something new. I'm sorry about that little mic there. I'm a Jew, I talk with my hands. But it is new, it's an amazing thing. To put on YouTube burning a man alive, to put on YouTube cutting the throats of Christian workers at the shore of the Mediterranean, to put these things, to put on YouTube throwing homosexuals off the top of buildings. I watched that YouTube. It's really true. And do you know what an Arab paper reported that I just mentioned on my radio show today? ISIS blew up a baby in order to show how to put on suicide belts. And they video it. They video it. How do you explain it? It's very frightening, the explanation. The best explanation I could come up with is this. They think they will recruit people if they do it. And sure enough, I just read from the Mirror in England, 1.5 million Muslims in the UK support the Islamic State after watching people burned alive and all these atrocities. Okay, that's one of the evils. Then Iran. This is a country that has announced it wishes to exterminate another country. There is no parallel on earth, none. Nobody has announced a desire to exterminate a country. When I was a child at the Passover Seder, they have said this for thousands of years at Passover Seders, we Jews, Shebechol dor vador kamim aleinu lechalotenu, in every generation somebody arises to annihilate us. And I swear to you, my friends, as a kid I remember thinking, not in this generation, they have learned. And they didn't. And the rabbis who wrote that were right. Every generation, now this generation, somebody arises who wishes to annihilate us. That's why Jew hatred is unique. It isn't hurt them. It isn't even enslave them. It isn't even expel them. It's annihilate them. Jew hatred is exterminationist hatred. This country, a deal is being made with to enrich with hundreds of billions of dollars thanks to the dropping of sanctions. It is beyond painful that my country, my beloved America, is part, indeed architect of that possible deal. This must be stopped in every possible way that we can venture to do so. It is the issue of our day. There is no greater issue at this time in our life. Then there is another terrible thing, the moral and theological weakening of Judaism and Christianity. The Presbyterian Church of the United States of America, PCUSA, passed a resolution to economically strangle the Jewish state. This is the evil that PCUSA sees in the world, not economically strangle North Korea, the world's largest torture chamber, the world's largest extermination camp. Israel, one of the few decent countries in the world where it is better to be an Arab, better to be a Muslim than in any Arab or Muslim country in the Middle East. And you can ask the Arabs of Israel whether that's true. The Pope, this is too painful. While Christian communities, the oldest Christian communities on earth, are exterminated in the Middle East, the Pope issues an encyclical on carbon emissions. I don't care what your position is on global warming. It doesn't compare to the extermination and enslavement and gang rape of people. It is unbelievable. He will go down as a moral fool in history. I hate to say it because I am in love with so many Catholics. And I've spoken in so many Catholic churches and Catholic schools. But what he did is so morally foolish. There is massive evil on earth. And he issues an encyclical on potential warming of the earth 50 years from now. Right now, people are being gang raped. Right now, people are being enslaved. Right now, Christian communities are exterminated. And that's what you issue an encyclical on? And then he is given in Bolivia. Just last week, he is given by the pseudo-dictator of Bolivia. A Marxist, he is given a carved crucifix made out of a hammer and sickle and Christ crucified on it. And he accepts it. And according to the Associated Press today, said he is taking it home with him. A crucifix made out of a hammer and sickle is as despicable as a crucifix made out of a swastika. If you don't know that, you're a moral idiot. More people were murdered under the hammer and sickle than under any doctrine and symbol in the history of the human race. To put Christ on a hammer and sickle is worse than what that artist Andres Serrano did, putting Christ, the crucifix, in a bottle of his urine. That was degrading. This is evil. And my fellow Jews, I can't say that things are all that better, morally speaking, in the Jewish world. All the Jews who were anti-Israel, the Jews who wouldn't show up in various cities at a night to honor Israel, the rabbis who wouldn't show up. And then they say why? They say CUFI is right-wing. So I have a response to those rabbis. Why don't you have a left-wing night to honor Israel? Because there'll never be a left-wing night to honor Israel. That's why. They're on the wrong side of history. They like to talk history. They're on the wrong side of history. Make your own night to honor Israel if you don't like CUFIs. But don't sit on the side while there are those who want to exterminate your fellow Jews of Israel. So our religions are in bad shape. The secular world. Oh, and then there's universities. I debated at Oxford last year, at the most prestigious forum for debate in the world, the Oxford Forum. And one of the two people I debated, I and my partner debated two people, it was on Israel and Hamas. And the woman got up and she said, Israel is doing to the Palestinians what the Nazis did to the Jews. And hundreds of Oxford University students applauded. This is a libel like the blood libel of the medieval world, where Jews were accused of killing Christian babies to use their blood to bake matzah for Passover. There is no difference between those two libels. You know what I thought, though? The first thing I thought when she said this despicable thing that Israel is doing to Palestinians, what the Nazis did to the Jews, if only so. I wish the Nazis had done to the Jews what the Israelis do to the Palestinians. There are 5 or 6 times more Palestinians today than there were when Israel was founded. There were 2/3 fewer Jews after Nazism was defeated. And she could say that lie, and you know who her partner was? An Israeli Jew who teaches at Oxford. Oh, and then there's the United Nations. The list is endless. And the media and the European community, Europeans who vote regularly that Israel is the most dangerous country in the world following North Korea. Israel. Oh, and the United States, of course. So, my friends, it turns out that Israel and the Jews are the litmus test. As usual, evil concentrates on the Jews, and the foolish non-Jew understands that the Jews are first and they are next. I wrap up by telling you that CUFI knows this. Pastor John Hagee, who is one of the great human beings of our time. It is as simple as that. With his wonderful partner, not just Diana. He has 2 partners, you and Rabbi Scheinberg. Just like I have my wife and Alan Estrin, he has his 2 partners. God bless you both, because I know without the 2 of you, this wouldn't be here now. Christians united for Israel is really Christians united for Christianity. Please understand that if your Christianity doesn't prevail, we will have empty churches like in Europe. You are just as much Christians united for Christianity's survival as you are Christians united for Israel. Just know that. And you are Christians united for America, because God blesses those who bless Israel and curses those who don't. And if America stops blessing Israel, it will stop being blessed, as sure as 1 and 1 are 2. You need to remind every American of that. We are blessed, and it is not a coincidence that this is the country that has most blessed Israel. And to the Arab world, the day you stop cursing Israel, you will cease to be a dark place and be the light that you too could be. God does bless those who bless Israel. And finally, I end with one of my favorite verses from the Bible. Ohavei Adonai Sin'ura. Those of you who love God must hate evil. You hate evil, and you know what? You can't love good if you don't hate evil. And you can't love God if you don't hate evil. That's why I love you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.